what we're going to do now is we're going to continue and we're going to start with the first question. The idea is the same thing we did before. And this question is from NAINS 2023. Okay. Now, let's read the question. The Constitution of India is a living instrument with capabilities of enormous dynamism. It is a constitution made for a progressive society. So technically यहाँ पर introduction हमें दे दी गई है. We have already been talked, they're already talked about the introduction of the question by giving this line. Illustrate this. So we have to illustrate that our constitution is a living instrument. It has enormous dynamism capabilities and it is made for a progressive society. ये तीन चीजें हमें illustrate करनी है. How? With reference to expanding horizons of the right to life and personal liberty. So we have to show how the evolution and expansion of Article 21 in our constitutional framework. So this can be certain amendments, this can be certain Supreme Court cases. Okay, how 21 has evolved to expand and to become a very big right, and this evolution must demonstrate the statement that we have shown dynamism and we are a constitution for a progressive society. Okay, I hope the question is clear. Now this is a difficult question. I know आपको ये जरूर पता होगा कि Article 21 में क्या क्या extra components हैं. These are things that you know about, that what are the extra components. But how you would link that to Supreme Court cases and to this statement, this is the challenge in front of you. You have 3 minutes to think and then we'll discuss. All right. Now when I'm writing this question, that okay, it is a living document, enormous dynamism made for progressive society. This I have to write with special reference to the expanding horizons of right to life and personal liberty. So I have to think about how Article 21 has expanded. Okay, and we all know that there are many areas where Article 21 has expanded. अब अगर मुझे ये expansion को demonstrate करना है, it's better that I have some Supreme Court cases. Now the thing is that to talk about this expansion, right? So if I have to think about this expansion, it has happened in various areas. So it has happened in various areas, and when you get a multi-dimensional question like this, it is always better to use a GS paper-wise approach. So you can think GS paper-wise in terms of where all Article 21 has expanded to. Okay. Now, if you look at this, we go GS paper-wise, and then we fit Supreme Court cases everywhere. Okay. Another thing, अगर हम इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर देखेंगे, and I'll show you in the answer only. Second. This fact, the first line that was written, this also has to be addressed, and this has to be addressed in every dimension, and it has to be addressed in the introduction also. So in the introduction, and this is value addition for you for GS2. If you get a question on constitution, do use things like this. So our Honorable Chief Justice, he has said that our constitution is a living and expanding document, adapts and transforms according to changes and needed expectations. He has called it effectively a transformative constitution. So anywhere you get a question on the constitution, and har saal there is going to be one question on the constitution, you can use transformative constitution as a introduction or a conclusion. Okay. Now this is the introduction, that yes, it is a transformative constitution as said by him. Now we are going to show this in terms of Article 21. And how are we going to ensure that we get enough points? And in every point we also have to show that it is for the progressive society. It is dynamic in nature. So हम general studies wise चलते हैं. So if GS paper 1 में we can think of the historical evolution of Article 21. The idea that earlier it was procedure established by law, and now it is due process of law. The idea that in the ADM Jabalpur case, it was interpreted as a narrow article, and in Menka Gandhi case, it was interpreted as a broad article, right? cultural impact. The idea of right to education also being coming to interpreted as a part of right to life and personal liberty. Now, this might be one case that you are not aware of. So it was Bandhua Mukti Morcha versus Union of India, right? Now this you are not expected to write this. नहीं लिखोगे तो कोई बात नहीं, but now take it and put it in your notes. Then in GS2 we can think of the legal framework. So in legal framework we can think of KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India and how this expanded to include the right to privacy. Here some people of you were mentioning common cause versus Union of India. You can also mention Aruna Schonberg versus Union of India. These are cases that are related to euthanasia, right? So this is also something you can mention. Then with regards to the idea of judicial activism, this term you are not supposed to write. This is just for you to remember. How will you remember? Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration, where humane treatment of prisoners was something that was there. So if our polity is expanding to show humane treatment of prisoners, is expanding to show right to privacy, if it is expanding to show the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act and Article 21A, it means that our constitution is transformative. Then let's come to GS3. When we think of GS3, we think of economy first. So in Olga Telis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation, the Supreme Court expanded Article 21 to include right to livelihood. So our constitution is expanding for a progressive society. In MC Mehta versus Union of India, in Article 21, it was sustainable development, precautionary principle and environmental protection. Now, you might not remember every single case here, but there will be a particular question, and it has come before, where they had asked, show that constitutionalization of environmentalism and sustainable environment development has happened. Wahan MC Mehta must come to our mind. Then, in technological advancement, this is also something we think about in GS3. So we think of internet. So in Fahima Shireen versus State of Kerala, right to internet was also recognized in part of Article 21. There is also an Anuradha Bhasin case. Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India was regards to right to internet in Article 19. Right? I understand that these cases are very difficult, but we will remember some of them to take forward. Then again, now if I have to think of GS4, I'm thinking GS paper wise, I can think of right to live with dignity, ethical dimension of dignified life, and this was in this Francis Coral Mullen case. Then integrity in governance, again in Menka Gandhi versus Union of India, they said that the governance framework of India should not be arbitrary, right? And then aptitude for human rights, and this we have already shown that Article 21 is constantly expanding. Various human rights are social, economic and political rights as they evolve. For example, the right to internet was not something that could have been thought of at the time of the Constituent Assembly, but now it has been thought of. And then when we have to conclude this answer, how do I have to conclude it? I have to justify the statement, because originally what did the question ask me? The question asked me illustrate, show, demonstrate, illustrate with special reference to expanding horizons of right to life. So I have to illustrate this statement. So in the conclusion, I have to say that, see, this is how Article 21 has expanded in various dimensions, showing that our constitution is one for a progressive society. So the conclusion has to again support this statement. So in the conclusion, again, we will write that it is a living instrument, it has dynamism, it has adaptability, and the expanding horizons ensure that fundamental rights that are enshrined in the constitution are available to all sections of the society as per the changing needs of time, right? These are the things we have to write here. So again, what is the thing we have to notice? That when we come to GS2, this is actually something that I also thought of a lot when I was writing GS2. GS2 is one of the only papers in this general studies matrix which is directly linked to an optional. Okay, so this is a direct optional. PSIR is a direct optional. This means, what does this mean? That if someone who is meant to be a UPSC evaluator for GS2, who will they pick? they are likely to pick a professor of political science and international relations who can read the entire paper and the entire paper makes sense to him. Okay, so if we have to write it from the perspective of a professor, and if you see how the questions are coming, it is better to write in a legal language rather than to write in just in just average general terms. If we show our legal understanding by showing Supreme Court cases, by quoting constitutional articles, it obviously gives a better impression.